Hello, boys and girls. Today we are on lesson 11.5, Measure Area. That is on page 649. Let's take a look at our essential question. It says, how can you find the area of a plane figure? So we're going to find the area of a two-dimensional shape. Area is the amount of space inside the object. We've worked with perimeter. That's the distance all the way around an object. Area is the amount of space inside that two-dimensional shape. Okay, unlock the problem. It says Jamie is measuring the area of the rectangles with 1-inch square tiles. So it says to cut out 8 1-inch squares. We don't need to do that. Use the dashed lines as guides to place tiles for A through C. And these are the 1-inch squares right here that they want us to kind of use. And they drew the little pictures for us here. So we can use our imagination and use our pencils and make it work for ourselves. So the first thing it says is to place 4 tiles on rectangle A. So if we look over here, here is 1 tile, right? It's the same size as that 1 square inch. And then I'll change my color a little bit. Here is the second tile. And the third tile is here, and the fourth tile is right here. Okay, so we have all 4 of these guys down on rectangle A. It says, are there any gaps? So if we look over here, I can see there's a big gap right here that didn't get covered up at all, and then there's another gap right here that also did not get covered up. So are there any gaps? We need to say or write yes. Next, are there any overlaps? And an overlap, let me show you an example. I'll draw a picture here. An overlap would be if I have this blue square and a red square covering it up. Right there, that's the overlap, where the red square is on top of the blue square. And if we look at this, not really. I know that there looks like there's some maybe overlap here, but that's just me drawing and not drawing exactly on top of each other. So no overlaps here on this one. No on are there any overlaps? So let's look at the next thing. It says, Jamie says that the area is 4 square inches. Is Jamie's measurement correct? Well, if we look at this, we see that Jamie hasn't covered up all of that rectangle A. So no, that's not correct. We have to cover up the whole thing with no overlaps. Okay? All right, let's look at this next little part. It says, so when you measure area, there can be no space between the tiles or no gaps. Okay? And we definitely had gap here and gap here. Okay, so next part, it says place 8 tiles on rectangle B. How about if I use a pen instead of a highlighter? 8 tiles on rectangle B. So if we look over here, I'll try to highlight them as best I can. There's 1. Here's 2. I'm going to change color because now we have, what do we have here? Oh my goodness, they have all kinds of a mess. I'm guessing, I don't really know, that we have maybe a rectangle here for 3, a rectangle here for 4, and then a rectangle here, I think, for 5, and maybe a rectangle here for 6, and then they've got some weird thing going on here with 7. Not sure how that's going to work. And 8. It's just a mess, right? So, are there any gaps like we had here on rectangle A? No, we don't have any spaces where nothing is covered. So, are there any gaps? No. Are there any overlaps? Well, yeah, we have tiles laying on top of tiles laying on top of tiles. It's a disaster. That's what I'm going to say. So, yes, we definitely have overlaps. Jamie says the area is 8 square inches. Is Jamie's measurement correct? Well, no, it's not correct. And why is it not correct? When we measure the area, the tiles cannot overlap, which is what Jamie did there. So let's try rectangle C and placing 6 tiles on rectangle C. Here's 1 and 2 and 3. No overlap, no space between. And 4. Again, no spaces, no overlap, even though I didn't trace on the line exactly. And 5 and 6. So no spaces between any of those tiles, nothing overlapped. All right, so are there any gaps? No. Are there any overlaps? No. So we covered the whole space, no gaps, no overlaps. Jamie says the area is 6 square inches. Is Jamie correct? Yes. Jamie's correct. Finally. So the area of the rectangle is 6 square inches. Okay? Again, no overlapping and no gaps. Let's go to the next page. Next page. There we go. So activity 2 says, let's see here. We have a blue square that we're going to work with and a green square, a little green square. Step 1, estimate the number of blue square tiles it will take to cover the gray figure. Well, I don't know. That's why it's called an estimate. So what's your best guess? I'm going to think that these blue squares right here look like it's going to take maybe 4 of them, like this, to go all the way across. Maybe it's 3. I'm not real sure. I'm going to guess 4, whatever. Okay, so 4 to go across the top, 4 more to go across the bottom, and I'm not going to have this overlap or gap there, but I'm thinking I'm going to guess 8. And then the second step was how many green tiles will it take to cover that area. Let me erase everything. Whoa, how about erase instead of that? Okay, let me erase everything here. How many green tiles? Well, that's even harder. But what I think when I look at these green tiles, I think 4, hang on just a second. There we go. Let me erase all this here. Okay, green tiles. I think 4 green tiles will fit in each one of the blue ones. So I'm going to need 4 times this, and that's 32. I have no idea. Okay, I'm just taking a guess. So then it says trace the blue square pattern 10 times and cut out the squares. Trace the green one 36 times and cut out the squares. Cover the gray figure with blue square tiles, step 5. And then count and write that down. Well, lucky you guys, I've already done all that hard work for you, so you don't have to. You guys ready? Let's see how well I did. It is going to take, oh, how about that? I got it exactly right. It takes 8 blue square tiles to fill that guy up. So the area is 8 blue square units. And then on the green ones, I actually guessed right on the button. That doesn't happen very often. 32. So the area is 32 green square units. Okay? Now, if I had said up here, if I had guessed 6 blue square tiles and maybe 30 greens, I would have been close. That's perfectly fine. I just happened to get really lucky and get it right on the button. Okay? All right. Let's move down to try this. Count to find the area of the figure. If each one of these green squares equals 1 square centimeter, it's called a square centimeter because this is a centimeter across, and this is a centimeter, and that's a centimeter, and that's a centimeter, and oh my goodness, look what shape it makes, a square. So it's a square centimeter. All right, so there are blank unit squares in this figure. we have to look over here and count up how many green 1 square centimeters we have. So they did the first two for us. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I like to write the numbers in so I don't lose track. Sometimes my memory is not the best. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So there are 17 unit squares. This is a unit square. Okay, it's 1 unit, it's 1 square, so they give it a really fancy name and call it a unit square. There are 17 of those unit squares in our fancy figure over there. So our area then is 17 square centimeters. Right? Let's go to share and show. This is your time to pause the video. Do problems 1 and 2 and 3. Just 1 and 2 and 3. After you do 1 and 2 and 3, then you can resume the video to check your work. Pause now. All right, boys and girls, I'm assuming you paused, did the 3 problems, and now you're here to check to see how well you did. First one says, count to find the area of the figure. Each unit square is 1 square centimeter. We need to think, are there any gaps? Are there any overlaps? So if I come over here, I count them. That's 1 and 2. Again, I think I mentioned I like to number them. 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. I've written in all of them. I haven't missed any, didn't count any twice. So I have 10 unit squares. And again, each one of these is a unit square because it's 1 square and it's 1 unit on all sides. So each one is called a unit square. So that means there are 10 square centimeters. The area is 10 square centimeters. All right, number 2, directions say count to find the area of the figure. Each unit square is 1 square centimeter. All right, so counting all the unit squares, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know this row has 5, so this row has 5, that row has 5, and that row has 5. That's going to give me a total of 20. I'll show you a little trick also. Let me erase some of this business here. Okay, I know this shape is 5 across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can write 5 right here. That's 5 across. And if I count how tall it is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 high. I can use multiplication because I have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 rows of 5. That sounds like 4 rows of 5. Multiplication problem. 4 times 5 equals 20. So you can count out all the squares. You can also use a little advanced math, a little trickeration there to get 4 times 5, 20 square centimeters. All right, can't use multiplication necessarily here because I don't have a rectangle. So I get to count them all up. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So my area is 10 square centimeters. All right, boys and girls, some of you may have HMH assignments. Some of you may have workbook assignments. We'll talk about that in class. Please do your best. Persevere. As always, this is Mr. P, and I am out.